What's up, guys? Welcome back to Classic Octane. I am Taylor. So as you can see, we are in the truck this morning. We are actually on our way up to Dallas. I have the trailer hooked up because we're actually going to pick up a couple of motorcycles. So 3 motorcycles we're picking up are going to be either future projects. 1 or 2 of them might actually just be for parts. One of them will for sure be a build in the future. You are not at all going to be surprised at what they are. Basically, I was looking for a set of carburetors for a CB550, and the subscriber reached out and said, hey, I actually have a couple of projects that I'm looking to get rid of. Would you be interested? I made him an offer based on some pictures that was, you know, a price that was worth me driving up to Dallas, worth me filling up more of my shop space. Side note, we're definitely going to need to get a shipping container or something to fit all these bikes in. So it was a deal that I couldn't pass up. So we're going to go ahead and head up there. It also worked out well that the next customer build is a bike out of Dallas as well. That customer was going to be driving the bike down to Austin and dropping it off at my shop, but since I'm going to be in Dallas today anyway, it worked out that I can just swing by his place, pick up his bike, and bring them all back home. So I'll bring you guys along in the process. I'll show you what I can. We'll at least give you guys a real close-up and overview of all of the bikes. I probably won't show too much about the customers and the guy I'm buying these bikes from, just to you know, respect their privacy. But we have about a 2.5 to 3 hour drive ahead of us, so I'm gonna get to it and I'll bring you guys back when we're there. Just left the first place, and as you can see, the truck is loaded up. I don't know if you can see in the rearview mirror, but there are kind of 3 bikes, really like 2.5 bikes on the trailer. One's just a frame, and I have the wheels and tank and stuff. All the parts are basically spread out in all these boxes. So really it became almost like buying 3 parts bikes. One of them does have a title, so it's a good possibility we can build that one. Again, I'll show you guys all the kind of in-depth walkthrough and everything once I pick up this next bike. I'm trying to get to this guy, pick up this bike, and get back on the road so I can get down to Austin before 5, because we are meeting somebody else to pick up something else for the shop. Not a motorcycle, not a vehicle, but something else I'm hoping to be able to pick up tonight, assuming nobody beats me to the deal. So I need to get back down to Austin so that we can make that deal happen too. So it's just a day of running around and buying all kinds of stuff for the shop. So pretty exciting. I'm going to be heading over to Frisco, Texas now. I'll fill you guys in once I pick that bike up. We're all loaded up, got all 4 bikes on the trailer, and as you can see, we've added even more boxes on the inside. So I'm just stopping to grab some food on the way back. Got about an hour and a half left of the drive. So we'll keep cruising down, and I'll show you guys the bikes when we get back to the house. We made it home safe, and I want to show you guys what we got. So basically we'll start with the bikes. I picked up, I'm going to call it 2.5 bikes. First one here is a 74 CB550, something both you and I are very familiar with. I've obviously built quite a few of these. So what I'm thinking about on this one is this might be a really good opportunity for me to just bust out a bike in like a week, you know, maybe 10 days, something like that. And it'll be probably very, very similar to the bikes I've built in the past, because this is a good opportunity. I do have a title, clean title for this bike, for me to build a bike and sell it and make that revenue for the shop, because it's something I've obviously done. It's already got a frame hoop started, just needs to be finished welded, all of the surface rust and stuff cleaned off of it. It's really not that far off, despite how it looks. We can figure out if we want to grab another one of my tanks, clean this one up. You know, we can basically piece this bike together without having to buy a whole heck of a lot and have a really, you know, solid brat style CB550 that I know I can sell. So I'll probably do that, and we'll see how much of it I show on the channel, because I don't want to bore you guys with building the same bike over and over again. But you have to understand, as a business, me building this bike that I'm very familiar with and already have a lot of parts for is a good, you know, potential revenue source. So it's one of those, I may just do it off camera, knock it out, and then, you know, let you guys know when it's done and show you the bike and see if, you know, any of you are interested in picking it up. We'll see. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. We will be doing, you know, a more custom build and stuff to show a little bit more interesting content, and I will make sure to show every part and piece of that build when the time comes. But this is just going to be a good opportunity to potentially make some revenue. Over here, CB750. This one is a 71. The reason I picked this up is because all of these bikes came from the same person. Actually, one of you guys, a subscriber, reached out, and it was a good enough deal that I just went ahead and picked it up. This bike supposedly runs. I haven't heard it run. But with a running 750 motor with a tank, and I do not have a title for this one, unfortunately, but with all of the parts, you know, we can definitely put this thing to use in some way. Maybe somebody will want to have a bike built that lives in a state like Georgia or something that doesn't require titles for this old of a bike, and you know, it'll be worth a little bit more to them. Maybe we'll take this motor and put it in the white 750 with low compression and have a known good engine and swap it in there and be done and build that bike. I don't know. We'll decide what we want to do with it. It was kind of a package deal with everything else. The other bike that came with it was basically just a frame that doesn't have a title. Here's the engine for it. Runs, you know, turns over nicely. The wheels, gas tank, and then I got parts galore with this thing. So I got an extra set of 750 carbs. The set of 550 carbs are in here, totally disassembled, which we can rebuild and vapor blast and make them perfect. And then all the rest of these parts, including like a bunch of new components, rebuild kits, chains, tank sealer. We just got a ton of extra stuff. This is the extra gas tank we got with the frame to this bike. So lots and lots of parts and pieces. Ideally, it's going to be one. That bike will pay for everything else. So basically, for what I paid for the three, assuming I build that bike similar and can sell it for a similar amount of my past projects, it'll basically be like I got the rest of these for nothing. So we can figure out what we want to do with that. I don't mind hoarding parts, as I'm sure you guys are aware. So now let me show you this bike. Well, this is Taylor from the future. I was editing this video, and the portion where I was talking about this bike, I kind of got off on a tangent about internet trolls, and it got kind of dark, and I don't want the video to go that direction, so I'm going to refilm this part. So this is the next customer build I'm going to be working on. We are doing just some light modifications to it. The bike hasn't run in a couple of years, so we will be most likely doing a will it run as we go through the carburetors and you know, get this thing back up and running. We'll do like a 2-to-1 exhaust and, you know, just some you know, little modifications, make it a fun kind of ride around town bike for the owner. The reason that I got a little bit spicy in the clip I filmed a couple of days ago is because I started talking about I most likely won't show much of this build on the channel. And that's because, unfortunately, there are some really negative people in the world, and they tend to leave their comments, whether they be warranted or not, on a lot of people's videos. And that basically, I don't want to invite somebody else into the relationship that I build with my customers. Because think about it, you know, if I'm building this bike, we decide to do a modification that, you know, some grumpy old man doesn't agree with. He starts blasting out, "You guys are idiots, that's stupid, why would you ever do that? That thing's a piece of crap." I don't want my customer to see that and then feel like they made the wrong decision. It's their bike, they do whatever they want. I'm gonna do what they want, whether they wanna chop something in half and, you know, whatever. You know, it's their bike, it's their money, it's up to them. So unfortunately, a couple of bad apples have kind of ruined me showing a lot of customer builds on the channel. I hope you guys can understand that. I'm gonna try to show as much as I can without kind of inviting that negativity. I will be immediately deleting any negative comments that are about customer bikes. I'll leave them in about my own bikes. There was a ton of negative comments about you know, the CB500 we're working on, and I'll address those, and that's fine. It's just a little bit different scenario when it's your customer, and I don't want to, again, make somebody upset that they had me work on their bike. It's just gonna be easier as a business owner to just not show that for the best interest of both me and the customer. So I hope you guys can appreciate that. It kind of stinks because, you know, it would be a really good opportunity for me to create a bunch more content. So we'll kind of be flexible. Maybe some customers will be okay with it, some won't. But I just wanted to kind of fill you guys in with what the deal was, show you this really clean CB350 we're going to be working on. I'll definitely be posting some pictures and stuff on Instagram. So if I end up not showing much of this build on YouTube, you can follow along, you know, Classic Octane on Instagram and be able to see it there. So this is the latest addition in the tool front. So this is a do-all bandsaw. I've been in the market for a do-all vertical bandsaw for a couple of years. But if you're not familiar with these saws, they are highly sought after. They've been made for, this one is probably 1950s if I had to guess. It's got this like sweet Art Deco vibe. Look at this control panel. How sick is that? So I'm really excited about it. Obviously, this one has been heavily used over the last, 70 years, but I need to make some modifications to this one for it to, suit my needs. And what I need to modify is quite a few things. So this is actually originally a meat cutting saw. So you can see it says meat, bone, and fish is what it was originally designed to cut. Dual has switched to making a lot of metal cutting bandsaws, probably a little bit after this, maybe at the same time. And I want to convert this to a metal cutting bandsaw. As you know, I don't really have a lot of need to, cut a whole hog in half. I could probably use a metal cutting saw just a little bit more. So a couple of modifications I will need to make is I need to be able to figure out how to make this motor variable speed, because the speed that it is right now is designed to cut meat and is also about the same speed you need to cut wood. But to cut metal, we need to slow that way down. And I want to be able to cut both steel and aluminum, so I need to have that speed be variable, because aluminum you can almost cut at the same speed you cut wood. But again, mild steel needs to be much slower, so I need to have some way to change that. And there's basically a couple of different ways you can do it. You could do it with different pulley sizes. So you could swap the belt over and basically change the, diameter of the pulley, and that will help you, have basically a different gear ratio. I don't necessarily want to go that route. One is I don't have a lathe or anything to be able to make some custom pulleys. Two, I want to be able to quickly switch between the two and not be fumbling around with belts and stuff, every time I need to change the speed. So the direction I'm thinking about going is replacing this motor. So right now it is a 220 volt single phase 1 horsepower motor. And I want to swap that out for a 220 volt 3-phase 1 horsepower motor. And basically what that's going to allow me to do is run what they call a variable frequency drive. A variable frequency drive will take the 220 volt single phase from my house, convert it to 3-phase, and give me almost infinite adjustability of the RPM range of the motor itself. So I could run it super slow, I can run it all the way up to its maximum capacity, all on a dial. So basically when it's all hooked up, I can set it to 1 speed for steel and then go broop and immediately set it to aluminum and speed it right up, and all I have to do is change that dial and I never have to touch a belt or a pulley or anything else. So I think that's going to be the way to go. I just need to start to source the proper size and mounting style for the motor, and then get that variable frequency controller. We'll probably hide as much as we can because I want the outside to look like it does, well, not necessarily like it does now, but I don't want it to look like it's been heavily modified. So we'll have all the wires and stuff kind of tucked and hidden, and I want it to look like a really cool Art Deco, bandsaw, but work like it should and work like a modern bandsaw would. The next thing I'm going to need to modify is I'm going to want to have this support come down all the way. Right now this is as far as it goes down. I don't want to have that much stick out when I'm cutting metal. I'd like to be able to bring it down another couple of inches, which doesn't look like it would be that hard. I think I can basically extend that square tubing, another couple of inches, and have that be able to be adjustable all the way down just above the table. I will also need to modify that a little bit because right now it has rubber blade guides, and I want to get the blade guides that have basically like a roller bearing on each side. So I'll have to see if that's something available that I can buy, or if we need to modify it and set up. I think I actually have quite a few roller bearings in here anyway that we can, modify and use. So we're kind of set up for that anyway, but basically for a metal cutting blade, you want to have a little bit more stability than just this rubber on here. Then I want to change this out and basically make it a piece of metal all the way across, probably match, I think this is about 14 inches, match that on this side, and have a full 28-inch bed or table or whatever you call it, all the way across, and kind of get rid of that wood. That will be part of the full restoration. So I'm going to be disassembling this thing, stripping all of this paint off, and getting rid of all this rust so that it doesn't eat through the metal anymore, and repainting it so that it will look like a nice original piece. We'll see what kind of paint we use. I don't know. It'll be a cool project to restore this machine back to good working condition and then modify it to be able to cut metal. Luckily, this blade size, I think it's 10 feet, is widely available in metal cutting teeth, you know, the little fine teeth. So finding a blade is not going to be difficult at all. You can see all of this rust on the inside. So this is like a heavy piece, which is why I wanted this machine. You know, it's one that's worth saving because it is so heavy duty that once it's modified and is, you know, kind of set up for what we need it for, I mean, this thing should probably last me the rest of my life. Just because of, it's already made, you know, 70 years of cuts. What's another, you know, hopefully 70 years of me using it. So really excited about this. I got a good deal on it. Even after we changed the motor and the frequency drive and everything, I'm still going to be in it for 25% of what an original metal cutting do-all saw would be. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's probably going to end up living probably where the welders are. Kind of tucked over there against the wall. It won't stick out much farther than they are now. So despite it being big, it should be kind of easy access, and we can drop a 220 outlet right next to it. So Future Taylor is back to close out the video. So I guess we'll talk about the saw real quick. While I was just looking at that video, since this has been here for a couple of days, I'm actually kind of digging this rough teal kind of color. I'm a little bit worried about the amount of rust on there. I don't want the rust to continue to eat away at the metal, so we'll have to kind of determine what we want to do. We'll make the modifications to have it be a metal cutting saw first, get it up and operational, then we'll decide what we want to do, you know, cosmetically. So if any of you guys are really familiar with, you know, 3-phase motors and variable frequency drives and that kind of stuff, let me know, reach out to me. I would love some hands on that because something I haven't done before, but I will be doing a little mini series as we, you know, redo that saw because I think it's pretty cool. We'll probably jump onto the CB500 since we are waiting on approval from the CB350 owner. We're also waiting on some parts for the Ford F1. So yeah, I'll probably jump on this in the next couple of days. You should see a video on it. I will go a little bit more in depth on why I am not rebuilding that engine. A lot of you guys are very concerned about that. Most of you are cool about it. Sure, I probably went about it the wrong way, but I'll get a little bit more into what my thought process was of why we're not, you know, spending a bunch of money rebuilding an engine when we have more economical options that make much more sense. So I'll get into all of that on that video. Appreciate you guys watching as always, and I'll see you on the next one.